Hello, and welcome to the Experience Local with Russ and Scott. Each week, they bring you conversations with local Christian businesses and business owners. Join in every Monday live at 9 a.m. Pacific on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. Listen to the program on Spotify or wherever you listen to fine podcasts. The Experience Local is brought to you each week by wonderful sponsors.
10D Tech, delivering fast, friendly, and fully managed IT services for Oregon businesses. Call 541-243-7201 and online at 10dtech.com. Join Boson Hub in supporting Kicking Cancer, empowering individuals and their families to thrive in their cancer journey through action, support, and education. kicking-cancer.org. James Reed & Associates, specializing in comprehensive coverage for nonprofits, ministries, small businesses, and personal lines of coverage across the Pacific Northwest. JamesReedAgency.com or call 503-588-8229. Independent Merchant Brokers, innovative solutions for your payment processing needs. 877-460-4747 and on the web, independentmerchantbrokers.com. Discover Oregon Real Estate, statewide experts in luxury home sales, farm, ranch, commercial, business sales, and land developments. Call 541-250-1065 and visit them online at dore.llc.
And now, your hosts for the Experience Local, Russ and Scott.
I think that's
Good
us.
morning, everybody. We are live on the Experience Local, live with Russ and Scott. So blessed to be here. How you doing, Scott?
I'm doing great, and you have been around the planet on another continent.
Yeah, what a blessing. What a blessing to meet and be with some of our Irish friends and meet new friends while I was there. My family loved it. They loved my family. We just got along so great. And yeah, every day, I mean, it ended up starting with spending one day together. And then we ended up being together with some of the friends like every day, but one day, I think, because we had so much fun. The very last day, Don Harris took us through his hometown. And it was right on the coast. It was beautiful. Had lunch there. Wendy took us over there to be with Dawn and just had a great time before we flew off on Friday, but it was great. Just a great time.
This is one of the opportunities that I always recommend people to do because we've a lot of people now we're just connected virtually. We met through LinkedIn or some other organization, and then you carry on conversations, and you may even do business together. But when you have that opportunity to actually get face to face, and in this case, you made it happen. You chose to schedule the time. You let people know, and your friends flocked to you.
It was amazing. It really was. And
yeah,
I mean, it started with the amazing seeing Alan Hennessy and Wendy Stunt in the airport there to pick us up. And we get off the plane a little bit groggy. And there they are, yelling and screaming and waving. And Alan's got this crazy Irish hat to put on my head. And it was so wonderful just to be greeted so great.
I saw some great pictures. So wonderful time. And but I encourage people when you have the opportunity or make the opportunity to see people face to face. We have a friend who is a publisher, lives in Dallas, Liz Lawless, and she is celebrating her birthday, which is on the 1st of April. We'll just say it that way. And so she is coming to town with her family, coming to Waco to spend a few days here and just celebrate her birthday. And so she reached out, and obviously we were going to make opportunity to spend time with her. But that's part of what we talk about here on the Experience Local is how we integrate faith, family, friends, work. And Russ, everyone knows that there's a lot more going on than what you find out here just on the Experience. And you can learn more at the website, local.theexperience.video. And it's got shows that Russ has, that I have, books that we've written, links to our LinkedIn pages, YouTube pages. You can learn a lot by going to local.theexperience.video.
Definitely can. And we'd love you to also subscribe to our YouTube page, which you can do there at local.theexperience.video, or go directly to YouTube at theexperience.video. So either one of those is going to get you there. We appreciate you subscribing. Our YouTube page is growing, and we appreciate that. And yeah, Scott, this all being about local and coming together, I'm looking forward to coming to your local area in April, and also getting to see Liz and other people while I'm there, and such a blessing. So coming together, taking a chance, and doing something significant in your life, everybody. Make memories today. It's so, so important every day to do that. And speaking of making memories, our guest today, who is an amazing friend, who I first met at a great event here in my hometown of Salem, and then have visited him in his hometown of Vancouver, Washington, where I met with him and Michael Holt at Michael's office. Just great guy, loves God, and just is doing great things. So he's going to be a great guest for today, Scott.
Well, let's get to the important part of the show. Let's bring our guest in.
Let's definitely do that. And I just, before that, want to remind everybody, we are here every Monday, 9 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time, for your viewing and listening pleasure. That's right. We go live, then it sits on the platforms, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. We broadcast on, and it becomes an audio podcast, and then it broadcasts on the Experience Radio Network. Thank you to KWIL and KYKN here in Oregon. Thank you to them. And so with that, we're definitely going to say we need to give him, I think we just need to give him a big drum roll and get things started here. Here we go.
Wow, that was good.
Hey, Chris, how you doing?
Hey, good. Russ, how are you?
Doing so good. Good, and so thankful to have you on today. Hey, listen, I know what an amazing guy you are, but let's start off with, who in the world is Chris? What are you up to? Give everybody a little insight.
Yeah. Like you said, we met, a year ago now, almost a year and a half, almost 2 years ago at this event, Life Surge in Salem. And, since then, my life has been pretty amazing. So my name is Chris, and I, help folks right now in the real world, help them to get their funeral plans done ahead of time. So it's a pretty unique calling. I've been doing this for about 3 years now, and I sit with folks from all walks of life to really talk about and understand, some of the services and things that they want to have for themselves, so that they don't have to pass on those final expenses to their, loved ones and family and kids and so forth. And so that's what I do for work. I am a dad. I got a 16-year-old at home who is, crushed in life, as you will. We, like to kind of take life by the horns, and it really instilled in him that life is all about what you want to make it, and he's done that. He's been an incredible inspiration for me in terms of staying positive, staying focused, and he's achieved an incredible feat in his own. He's lost 52 pounds since last November, putting himself on a restricted diet, trying to lose some weight and feel good in his skin as a teenager in school. So that's been pretty fantastic to see. But that's my number one job, being a dad and guiding him in the right ways, and having him see my mistakes and my lessons that I've learned, so that he can, go forward and not have to go through those same challenges that I did. So that's been a big blessing within itself as well. And aside from that, I like to cook. I've been a chef for 8 years before doing this funeral business gig. And a lot of folks, in the chef world now like to joke around, Chris, people are dying to see you now. And, it's no pun intended. It's one of those things that, I think that God calls you in certain ways. And some of the things you just don't know why. You don't know why you're here. But I think it's that comfortability level of knowing that, you realize there's an impact to be made. You realize that you have a great platform to use to, spread a good thing. And I believe that, my cooking, of course, being able to be in the kitchen, cook for people, that's a universal love language. And I still do that now on the weekends, like to cater, so forth. But that's translated into the funeral business to be able to do the same thing, have a deeper connection with people, really kind of ask those uncomfortable questions and help them to come to terms that, end of life isn't as scary as it needs to be when you talk about it. It's just more of, working together to compile an amazing gift that you can leave for your family.
I'm glad you told us about being a chef beforehand, because I was going to find out what you were doing before you got into this current business. So that's good. We'll have follow-up questions about that because we all love food.
Yes.
The funeral business, I remember many years ago, listening to a news story about a convention for the industry, and the humor is a big part of it.
Yes.
That it tends to be, and that's the way we as humans tend to face difficult issues. But integrating faith with the business in work. I remember years ago, there were two people that I knew that were both coming to the end of their life. One of them had faith and had hope, and her outlook was so different than the other gentleman, who he didn't know what was happening. So talk about how do you interact with different folks?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think you got to lean into your God-given ability. And I think for me, has been able to talk to anybody, anywhere, anytime, any place. And, try to find common ground, whether you're meeting somebody who's in hospice, who maybe has 30 days left to live, or you're meeting with the 80-year-old that just wants to have that last bit of planning buttoned up for themselves, or the 30-year-old couple. I met two folks a couple weeks ago, 35. They just got a house and they got kids and they're getting their funeral plans done ahead of time, So I think it's finding common ground, right? Why are we doing this? Why are we here? And I think that you can resonate with a lot of folks when it comes to just wanting to have a plan in place. And it's that fear of the unknown that kind of gets the ball rolling sometimes, And so, a lot of folks come in here and, it's not, I always start off my conversations with this. I know there's a million things you'd rather be doing than being in a funeral home right now. I get that. But you're here for a reason. Let's dive into that. And you find that it's for their kids. You find that it's for somebody passing away. That's usually the catalyst. Like folks passed away, or some, aunt and uncle passed away, or somebody passed away that just got me to thinking about what is my plan. So I think that, being a parent and having a plan ahead for my son and some of the things that he has going on at home, being a homeschooled kid as well, and me having to help with itinerary, so forth, I believe in a plan. And so being able to, relate on that level and then kind of help them develop a plan together, it's kind of like being a parent of my kid's life. As parents, we got to adjust our planning style depending on, with their age, right? He's 16 now. And so my communicational style with him, my planning style with him is way different than it was when he was 8 and 10 and 12. So I've evolved in that way. And so I think here you got to kind of just, roll with the punches and, try to relate and break that common ground to kind of, bring a good conversation about.
Yeah, that's amazing. Common ground, and is really starting with people where they're at and really kind of building that relationship and all that is so important. But God has put us on this earth just to be a shining light, right? So all that you do is so important, so important with the people. And you're in a part of their life, Chris, that's, there's a lot of anxiety for people, right?
Sure.
Planning for that. People don't like to think about that, right? And so I think it probably opens up many doors for you. Do you have any particular stories that you'd like to share where God has opened doors with people in your business that have really made an impact, or where you felt like you've really been able to shine for the people where they're at?
Yeah, I think this is, doing what I'm doing now is a good catalyst for that. I feel like it's given me a platform to not only speak at my funeral home, but to meet people where they're at, doing home visits, going into hospitals, going into hospice centers, and meeting folks where they're at has been such a profound experience for me, because it kind of puts, it makes every choice that I make every single day meaningful and worth it. Because I try to tell my son this every day is, we get one chance to do today just right. And so knowing that I get to go out and put my suit on and I get to step in this building and I get to go to appointments where I can be a rock for somebody, I think that's my individual calling. I've always told myself when I was in grade school that I was never the person that had an idea of what I wanted to do, except for to say I wanted to help people. That's all I could say is I wanted to help people. So now I'm in a position to do so. And, I think God has put me in a position now I have such a positive energy and such a radiant light and all these different things. And I never knew really how to channel that and where to source that. But I feel like in this industry here specifically, man, I get to be that for people that are just not having it, or that just don't want to be in a conversation like this. And, when we're all said and done, I get to laugh with them. I get to really uncover who they are at their core. And that inspires me every single day to share those stories with, my son and so forth. So I'd say this industry opening up avenues for me to, go to different assisted living facilities, create local contacts. Now I'm doing group presentations at assisted living facilities and, different centers throughout the city, I think it's kind of helped me expand my outreach in terms of what is possible and how to think about this in a different way.
Yeah, I was just thinking about this, the practical aspects of what you do. When my father passed, he had not made any arrangements, so it was up to me to decide what to do and how to do it. And of course, there's an expense, but mainly I will say the expense was the emotional side. I mean, you're in that grieving state, and you got to make business decisions.
Yes.
And so there was a conflict there, and trying to do what I expected my father would have wanted to be done, right? The way he wanted. And I was thinking, years before that, we had a friend that passed away, and he was a machinist. He was an outdoorsman, loved hunting, doing a lot of things with his hands. And family tradition was an open casket. And so it went in, and there he is, with a suit and tie, and his hair combed in a way that he would never have combed his hair, and I could just hear him making fun of himself if he had gone to that. Absolutely not what he would have wanted.
Yeah. No, that's important. That's one of the big reasons. And I tell folks about this when we're planning is, you're giving yourself total autonomy in this here, and your plans. The only way to make sure that nobody combs your hair in a way that you don't want to, or puts you in a suit that you don't want to be in, is to have your plans in play, have them on paper so that they're executed exactly the way you want them to be, and nobody can deviate from that. So I think when people find that, okay, yeah, I get to put down, I want this specific outfit on, and I want one earring instead of two, or I want my glasses on, we get to really get down to the nitty gritty details to make sure that, your last day, your last hurrah, if you will, is exactly the way you want it to be. That's important.
Yeah, I just want to commend you for what an amazing attitude on life you have. You really, since the first time I met you, you've been a blessing. You've not only, you and I have been able to stay in contact back and forth. I was able to reach out to you, but you've been a real encouragement and blessing to me as well. And I think that says a lot for people, but I think about, how people grew up and their families and all of that. I don't know your background, but your current family and all that you do as far as living for God with them and how that transfers to your business. Talk a little bit about that and what a blessing family is.
Yeah. Family's huge, of course, being Latino culture. That's everything, right? You go to celebrations at grandma's house and they cook more food than you can even imagine. If you walk away hungry, that's your fault. But, I think for me growing up, doing this industry ties back into my why. When I was 16 or 15 years old, my mom passed away suddenly. She didn't wake up from her sleep, right? And so that was kind of a major shift in my life, of course, being the older brother, having two little brothers, having to be the person to step in as the older role model in their life. I feel like a little bit of my childhood was kind of taken at that point, because I had to kind of step in and be that big brother role from that point until, we found stability, which is, years later at my aunt and uncle's house. And that's how we got here to Washington. But my childhood was rough. We grew up on not knowing where rent was going to come from. I saw my mom living in survival mode every single day. There was never really a moment that she was able to truly just breathe. And, of course, I'm not sure if you remember, but we used to get those boxes of like the white can label meat, white can, or the government issued cheese, that type of thing. And my mom was such a maverick at throwing ingredients together to make delicious tacos out of this white can label meat and mystery cheese and getting tortillas from the store, so she always made it work. And I think for me in life, that's kind of my mantra is like, we can't make excuses for ourselves. We can, but it's not going to get you anywhere. And I've been a victim of that, that victim mindset you fall into sometimes, where you feel like, man, nothing's ever going to work, or nothing's going to work out, or, it's been like this forever. I can't see a change, and there's no way it can change. I call a bluff to every single part of that, because I feel like I am a perfect example of somebody who was supposed to be a statistic and stay in that city and not evolve. And, I feel like, as interesting as it is to say that my mom's final blessing, she had MS throughout her life, multiple sclerosis, and it was a pretty advanced form. So as she kind of got towards her end, she was really immobile. She couldn't really move much, do much, but she was still fierce as heck, So I think that her last gift to us in a way was that passing, because had she not passed, we would have still stayed in that same town in California and not not knowing what that future held. But us having to move up here to the Northwest in 03 after her passing really opened our eyes as kids as to what the possibilities were, what was really available to us, what was out there for us. And, you take 3 scrappy kids from what we call the body or the hood in California and bring them up here. It's a big shift. It's a big mindset shift. And, for us, we have to battle our own demons and still find a new way of living. And I think that right now, when I look back, everything that I've been through says that I'm not supposed to be where I'm at today. And I think that this whole process of being on this podcast and going forward is just showing people and helping them believe in themselves and the fact that no matter what your upbringing looks like, man, you can overcome, you can achieve. And it's just that mindset, And
that's important. And I like that you're talking about making this transition as a young person, from state to state, culture to culture, but bringing your culture with you as well and integrating that. But you also made a big change from being a chef to being in the funeral planning business. And what's important that you learned that you would like to share with people about these major transitions as a young man and which you didn't have choice over, right? Family made that, but you did have choice over a career change.
Yeah, I always tell my son about fear. We talk about fear as, it can stop you and it can keep you where, I guess Satan wants you to be, I guess, right? It's just, it keeps you stuck. And when we practice fear over faith, what do we lose inside of? We lose inside of our faith. And what is faith, right? Faith is walking into the unknown, not knowing what's on the other side, not knowing what's waiting for you, but following that intuition, that gut feeling, and move forward and to say, whatever that is, it's the path of least resistance. And I feel like this is the right call, this is the right move, and I'm gonna make an impact regardless, right? And so, changing cultures and having to shift gears and going from cooking, from which I was really good at for 8 years, which I still do on the weekends, of course. There's a plug there. And then coming into the funeral business, it's I think for me, I just was determined to say, it felt natural at the interview. I feel like when you go into a funeral home for an interview, it's either in 5 minutes, it's going to be for you or not for you. We stayed there for an hour, we talked, and I felt like this was going to give me a place to make a big impact, not just within my life, but within my community. And that I do just that, being able to outreach to different folks, call on folks. And not everybody's going to be receptive to the conversation, but when you have just a moment to sit with them to kind of talk about, have you ever had to plan somebody's funeral? Have you ever had to go through something like that? Tell me what that was like. What was that experience for you? What was the emotional experience like? You kind of break those walls down. And I feel like this is the platform that I needed to be able to expand not only myself, but to just touch other people the way that I've been touched in my life and the people that have come in my life as well.
Yeah, well, I tell you, those transitions and times in life are so important. How that we deal with that and how we walk with God, and that is so important. And as we're getting close to the end of the show, I need to be the responsible host and start wrapping things up. But Chris, what I really want you to do is give everybody your gold nugget of today, what you really want people to remember, and then let everybody know how they get in touch with you so they can reach out, because you are such an amazing guy. I already want to reach out, so please give us that.
Yeah. I would say, it's never too late is my gold nugget here is, I found you, Russ, at the right time in my life. And I just you've commended me, but I got to commend you as well. Your energy, your enthusiasm for life, how you approach things. I never would have guessed that you were going through the struggle that you're going through. And you inspire me every day. So if I can get that inspiration myself to truly believe in my capabilities and what I'm able to do, and know that somebody sees me as an inspiration to them, who's just as inspirational as so many people, to know that it's never too late to transition in your life, right? You're in one place now, but if that's not where you want to be, go in faith, walk in, lean into whatever it is that you want to be scared a little bit, but do it scared, do it afraid, because the outcome is going to be worth it.
Yeah. So great. And your contact information?
Yeah. Email. Well, actually, LinkedIn, you guys got me on LinkedIn there. So if you guys plug that in. And then I have an Instagram page that I just put up called Chris the Pre-Planner. So I'll be dropping nuggets on, pre-planning and doing short videos on just kind of getting people familiar with the process.
And also the catering. What about the catering?
The catering, that's just getting off the ground. That's the Smoke P&W catering. You can find us on Instagram, Smoke P&W. You'll see some private events that we've done on there and the foods that we like to cook, which is all smoked meats that we break down into sandwiches and tacos and all that good stuff.
And what's your favorite meat to cook?
Brisket, baby.
Well, I'm in here in Texas, so
Okay.
I'll say yes to that.
Yes, absolutely. Maybe I'll send you some.
Well, that is so great, Chris. I love food, and so that all sounds great to me.
I'd love to cook for you, Russ. So if you give me, let's connect, and I'd love to bring you some food up your way.
There you go. That would be so great. Yeah, I had just had some great Irish food, had some Irish stew and some other really good dishes while I was there. But anyway, thanks again, Chris, for being here. You're such a blessing. Definitely stay in touch. We're going to say goodbye on screen, but hang tight in the green room till we wrap up. All right.
All right.
Nice to talk with you,
guys.
Chris.
Nice to meet you, Scott.
Thank you.
More inspiration here on the Experience Local with the most remarkable people on the planet, Chris Castro. What a great story.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Chris is, really God's timing is so perfect. How he brought Chris and I together and, just real connection. Who would think you would make such a great connection like Chris and I at an event where we were sitting on different rows and just had a couple opportunities to talk briefly, but stayed in touch and just really amazing. Be able to pray for each other, spend time encouraging each other. And that's just really a blessing.
Again, I'll just say good things happen when you say yes. And so when you go to events and you meet people and they say, hey, let's get together for coffee, say yes. When they want to give you a tour of their business, say yes. When they say, hey, let's meet in Dublin, say yes.
Well, I can tell you how much that means to me. And I think I am similar to most people, Scott. And that is, when I called over or messaged over to Alan and Wendy, immediately they said yes. Yeah. When I talked to you, immediately said yes. And the friends that are coming to see us immediately said yes. I mean, just amazing. And so that alone means so much to everybody because it shows that people care.
Yeah. And, connection digitally like this is great. And as we say, social media turns handshakes into hugs.
Yes. And it's great to get those hugs when you've known people for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So listen, everybody, I want to remind you that we are here every Monday, 9 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time for your viewing and listening pleasure. Remember that not only do we go live, but then it sits on LinkedIn, YouTube forever, Facebook for 30 days. Please comment, engage. Even if you're watching on replay, please put hashtag Team Replay, comment and engage. Then it converts to audio podcast on all the major platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, goes on and on and on. Then it converts to radio. And so here in the Willamette Valley, we are on KWIL in Albany, KYKN in Salem. And so please support those radio stations, support all of the sponsors, right, Scott, that help.
Yeah, absolutely. We're grateful for our sponsors. You can, on the radio, we are on TuneIn. So if you go to TuneIn Radio, you can also look for KYKN there and find the streaming. But our sponsors are so important. And we're grateful for Boson Hub and their support of Kicking Cancer, 10D Tech, Independent Merchant Brokers, James Reed and Associates, Discover Oregon Real Estate. All of these people identify with this message of support your local businesses and find ways to share your businesses. So share this show out and you are adding to your community.
And we are also listener supported besides our amazing sponsors. So please reach out. There's a link in the show notes. And you can also at local.theexperience.video get information there. We appreciate it. It helps us to cover our broadcast and our team. So thank you so much for helping out. And Scott, you're going to have to wrap things up for me today.
Well, just thank you to everybody for joining us here on the Experience Local every week. Thank you to Chris Castro for just such an inspirational story today. And remember, enjoy your local experience.
That's it.
Thank you for tuning in to The Experience Local with Russ and Scott. Listen to the program on Spotify or wherever you listen to fine podcasts. Join in every Monday live at 9 a.m. Pacific on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. We look forward to seeing you next time on The Experience Local with Russ and Scott.